just trying to find what's going on. And like, you look at the raw numbers for this team, and there's so many raw numbers that look so good. But then when you dive a little deeper, to me, it comes down to situational football. And obviously special teams has played a huge factor in swinging big momentum in these games. And you're not going to see a lot of that in a box score. You're not going to see that in overall team defense or overall team offense. And I look at this number, and you tell me what you make of this. Last year, okay, in the fourth quarter, the Niners gave up 3.7 points per game. This year, they're giving up almost 9. And I don't think that's all on the defense. I think it's short fields. I think it's unfortunate special teams blunders. I think it's the offense stalling out and then the defense having to go back on out there after a long drive. And like, this reminds me a lot of what you saw during kind of like that Singletary era, where when you don't play complementary football in all three phases, things bite you in the butt, and you look up and you're like, you're looking to who to blame. And is it the quarterback? And is it the DC? No, the team is not playing a complementary brand of football, and it feels like they can't get off the field in certain situations. Simultaneously, they're not punching in touchdowns, so you don't have that extra cushion and that extra margin of error. And I just the common theme in all of these losses is like, the other team in the fourth quarter finishes strong, and the Niners finish meagly. Or meager.
I'm looking at the schedule, just looking at it, and there's no doubt the eye test will tell you in the fourth quarter they haven't shut things down. I do think the number is a little inflated when I think about some of these games, like the Cowboys scored a couple touchdowns late in the fourth quarter to make it a game. Jets scored late. Seattle scored late on Thursday Night Football. But to your point about the fourth quarter and not finishing, yes, it is both offensive, defense, and special teams. It's been a collective group effort on how not to finish football games. Whether it's the punt return team fumbling the punt return or not containing on the punt team like you saw in Week 3 against the LA Rams. Maybe it's the Arizona Cardinals where you have a Jordan Mason fumble when you're trying to ice the game. We know all the games. We can play it through our heads here about how they're not finishing in the fourth quarter, but I think that's a microcosm. See, the problem is I think in sports, it happened the other day with the Warriors and the Clippers. We're all going to look at the end of the game and say, boy, they didn't make a shot. GP2 missed a shot at the end of the game. But you brought up situational football. I'll bring up situational basketball. The end of the first half, you give up a layup to Norman Powell. Into the third quarter, it's tied up. You hold the Clippers at 16 points. And Amir Coffey's off balance, and you foul him at the three-point line, and he makes 3 free throws to get the Clippers a 3-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Now, you lose by 3. Those are 5 points right there. Could be the difference in the basketball game. Same thing in football, where you're thinking to yourself, boy, you're not putting these teams away in the first half when you have the opportunity. You're not taking advantage of goal line situations like the Vikings where you have a 4th and goal and you don't convert. And next thing you know, Sam Darnold goes over the top to Justin Jefferson for 99 yards. The LA Rams, you don't put them away in the third quarter. You're up 21-7, but you're letting the game kind of play around and just hang there in the balance. And Jake Moody misses a field goal, and next thing you know, you got a different ball game. Situational football all throughout the game that leads up to the fourth quarter where you don't have the margin for error, where you're like, oh, boy, they're one play away from making something happen. They're one play away from making something happen. That's what happened with Seattle. That's what happened with the Cardinals. That's what happened with the Rams. That's what's happening with the Vikings. You're not finishing in the red zone, and you're not doing it in the first 3 quarters of the football game to where you got to now rely on the fourth quarter where you don't have the same personnel you had in years past. So it's maybe just one of those years. Maybe it's just one of those years when you have a lot of moving parts coming in and out of the lineup, defensively and offensively, with all the injuries or whatnot. I think it's just you're 5-5, and it kind of screams why you're 5-5. Just look at the games.
Yeah, it's just I think we were, conditioned from last year because they were such a juggernaut that when they get up on a team, they're just going to run them out of the building, and then they're going to suffocate them in the fourth quarter. And like you referenced some of the late touchdowns against like the Jets, for example. I mean, they scored with 25 seconds left on the clock. That game was a blowout. Like whatever.
The Cowboys were down 30-10.
Yes, but in last year, they beat them, 40-something to 10, whereas this year, Dak has the ball back with a chance to take the lead at the end of the game. And I think that's kind of the difference between this year and last year. Is it's not necessarily that you allow teams back in. It's like, oh my God, they've got a chance to not only tie the game, but win the game in the final possession. And yeah, I do think as much as I'm focused on the defense, and I have been focused, like the offense has not been able to punch it in. And I think that their red zone woes from early in games really catches up to them late in games. And you look back and you go, God, we should have cashed one in. And when you don't, I feel like that boulder on your shoulder gets heavier and heavier. And I mean, they're 29th right now in EPA plays, yards allowed in the fourth quarter. 29th. It's
what's EPA again for the people who
expected don't know? Play allowed. And it's just, it's not a good number. I mean, in the first quarter, they're 4th. Second quarter, they're 7th. Third quarter, they're 12th. In the fourth quarter, 29th. As a defense. Last year, they were top 10 in all of them.
Yeah, but you know what? Last year was different.
No doubt.
We have to stop comparing last year to this year because you didn't have Christian McCaffrey for – you've only had him the last 2 games. Defensively, you're even different. You don't have Drake Greenlaw. You don't have Drake Greenlaw. And Hufanga played most of the season. You know, he didn't tear his ACL to the middle of November. So you don't have Drake Greenlaw this year. You had him all last season playing at an all-pro level. Javon Hargrave, whether or not we liked him, he was in that lineup. Now, Eric Armstead battled injuries, but you still had him on the roster. You did bring in Chase Young and Randy Gregory. You know what? I don't know what's been worse, Chase Young, Randy Gregory, or Leonard Floyd. I have no idea. So that position's a wash. But Bosa was better last season, I believe. Even though he held out last year, I still felt like he had bigger impact last year than this year. So, and then you look offensively, obviously you have Brandon Ayuk, who's having a career season. Deebo Samuel's going for over 1,000. He, you know, even though he had the three-game exodus where he got hurt in Cleveland, Deebo Samuel. You know, George Kittle had over 1,000 yards. This team was just completely different last season. They were completely different. And they were more explosive. You don't have that this year. So when you think about their offense, what did he play, 3 games?
Yeah.
4 games, 5 games? Got hurt in Kansas City. McCaffrey's played in 2 games. Kittle's missed action. Deebo's mixed action. It's just not the same team. And I think that's what we have to come to grips with. Even though our expectations were high, the team's just completely different. The Opens were there, but the team is different. With all the injuries, with all the, you know, it's just a different roster, man, and we should have probably saw this coming. Probably saw it, like we underestimated Drake Greenlaw's absence. We underestimated Chris McCaffrey's absence. Jordan Mason's not Christian McCaffrey. It's just not.
Well, Jordan Mason is not Christian McCaffrey, but he was a top 5 rusher and on pace for a top 5 rushing season. Now, again, it was.
But didn't have the impact that CMC had. He didn't have the impact.
Well, that's in the passing game and in the red zone. Yeah, there's no doubt he wasn't punching it in. I mean, McCaffrey was good for a touchdown a game. But it's not like he wasn't really good, right?
No,
like
I didn't say that. I didn't say that he wasn't good. He's just not Christian McCaffrey.
For sure.
Mason was good. Christian McCaffrey was all world last season.
There's no doubt.
All world.
But like the Niners aren't the only team in the league that battles injuries. You know, I mean, Kansas City lost their top wideout and they're still plugging along in terms of their offense. And though not historic or whatever, like they're finding ways to win games. I just think the overall arch of this team is, for whatever reason, in the second half, all of these mistakes and everything just keep coming back. And these blown leads have now become a thing. And I don't know if it's in their heads per se. I don't think guys are thinking about that when they're playing. That I dismiss that, but there's something there, and I think they're going to look up at the end of the year, and they're either going to be a game short of clinching the division, or they're going to face an opponent they don't want to be facing because of their record if they find a way to win the division. And I think we're going to be looking back at all of these different opportunities and moments throughout the year with regret.
888-957-9570 is the number. Is this the game of the year for the 49ers? Is this where your season falls apart if you lose? Is this a must-win game? Are they all must-win games? 888-957-9570. What was alarming yesterday is when we had Baldy on, and he was discussing Christian McCaffrey. He was talking about Christian McCaffrey, and, you know, Greg Cosell was on last week with Willard and Dibs, and he was talking about, you know, Christian McCaffrey looked like Christian McCaffrey to me. And I was thinking to myself, I'm no expert. I'm not in the film room like Greg Cosell, but they look like Christian McCaffrey to me. They look like he had that same burst. Well, we asked our NFL expert, Brian Baldinger, how does Christian McCaffrey look? Here's what he had to say.
He doesn't look special. He just doesn't. And so Mason, he hit that first run of his 8 yards up the middle.
Yeah.
Like, he hit that hole like we've been watching him hit it all year.
Right.
Where he was second in the league in rushing a couple weeks ago. Like, he hit the hole the way he's supposed to hit the hole. And so I think, who knows what's being said. Obviously, they're not sustaining offense where you could get the number of carries that you want. Although they had 27 carries, some of them obviously are scrambles by Brock. But the way Jordan hit that first run, I'm like, that's what they need. They just need somebody just to be a bullet right through those between the line. And then he always, he's taking the pile with him. So I don't know. Like, I think Kyle probably thinks that when we get to the postseason, if we get to the postseason, we're going to need McCaffrey at his best. Let's play him into shape. And I think that might be part of it. But that was not an impressive run game by the 49ers on Sunday.
And it hasn't been impressive the last 2 weeks with Christian McCaffrey. And that's a huge difference in this offense. He was all-world last year. He was special, getting to the second level, making people miss, breaking long runs in the pass game. Even in the pass game when he's running routes, he's not fooling anybody. His route running's been a bit sloppy because I don't think he can cut as well as he can with the bilateral Achilles tendonitis. I mean, what did we expect? He's just not the same player.
Yeah, it sucks. I don't know what else to say. Like, you don't see that same explosion and that cutback. And it's funny, like, all the various film watchers are going to have differing opinions. But his point about Jordan Mason, when Jordan Mason came in and he had a little burst, I think a lot of people felt that way. And not that we want Jordan Mason to take CMC's, spot in the pecking order. We're just saying, like, mix it up a little. And I don't think that's the end-all, be-all to the cure of what their offense is. I think their offense, they've got some issues that are a little deeper than that. Personnel-wise, like, without George Kittle, I just think that they're just – Saubert is not a threat in any way on either side. And, obviously Pearsall as a rookie is going to have some ups and downs. He's not Brandon Ayuk. He's just not. Brandon Ayuk's a very good player, and they miss him a lot for, what he does to coverage, getting open, being a trusted agent of Brock Purdy's. Like, I think there's a lot that we can't see on our television screens that is being played out, and it's reason why. And I also like the offensive line. They've got a couple weak spots. Like, that's a spot, like, McKivitz has not been good, and Jake Brendel hasn't been great. Pooney's been awesome. I think Banks has had kind of a down year from what my expectations were from him. So I think all of these things, as well as, I don't know if Brock's seeing it as well as he did last year at this time, which I think is a fair thing to say. We all like Brock, but, I was watching some videos yesterday of the arm and people saying he got hit versus Arizona. Maybe the shoulder's a little stiff, and I can't speak to that, but he does look a little hesitant at times.
Yeah, I saw a lot yesterday on the internet. Somebody sent this to me. I think I sent it to the thread where, I just texted. But a lot of people were saying the shoulder injury because he is day-to-day with the shoulder injury. Kyle Shanahan announced that Monday during his conference call. Day-to-day with a shoulder. And a lot of people saying his arm didn't look that strong. Didn't look like he had that much zip. And when you're going to get to Green Bay, this gets a little colder. You get to Buffalo, the wind blows over there, Orchard Park, formerly Rich Stadium. I think it's called, what is it called? New Era Field, maybe? I don't remember, but it's formerly known as Rich Stadium. Anyway, you're going to need a strong arm to throw those elements, especially in Buffalo.
Highmark Stadium.
Highmark Stadium. Yeah, that's what it's called now. Highmark Stadium. Huh. It's something to monitor here. Sure, is Purdy fatigued? Arm fatigue? Shoulder fatigue? Did he get hit? I don't know what's going on here. But I do want to talk to Niner fans about this. One, Green Bay, must win, obviously. I think it's a must win. I think we can answer that ourselves. But if you want Shanahan to evolve, if you still want him as the head coach, that's another conversation. But if you want him to evolve, what is it that he needs to evolve in? Is it play calling? Is it decision-making? Is it formations? Is it motions? Is it personnel? Is it his passing game? Where would you like to see Shanahan evolve? Because trying to tweak the offense midway through the year, probably not going to happen. This is going to be an all-season conversation for Kyle Shanahan because the passing game does look outdated. When you don't throw outside the numbers and you don't throw it down the football field in today's game, you're going to have a hard time winning at a high level.
It's crazy. It's like some of the rhetoric regarding Kyle Shanahan he stinks. It's like, no, he doesn't stink. But, like, the offense still is prolific. in terms of like accumulating yardage. I know that the explosives aren't there like they used
They're
to
not
be,
there.
but they're still marching down the field. And I think the hard part for me is that they've had specific situational penalties, because you look up, they're not the most penalized team in the league. In fact, they're kind of like, they've been actually buttoned up in that. To me, it's like you're 3rd and 1 the other day, 3rd and 1. And then you go to 3rd and 11, right? Because of a hold on the outside. You get a good Deebo Samuel run, and Juwan Jennings gets caught for a hold on the edge, right? And it's a stinger. And so I just,
you know what, though?
I think plays are there to be had, I guess is what I'm going.
Plays are there to be had, but could you say that every team kind of gets yards? Like, every team, it feels like, kind of gets yards. And I mentioned this yesterday that the Niners were in the top 5 in terms of passing yards and total yards and all this stuff, and they're getting prolific yards. But you can't really be prolific if you don't score points. When I think prolific, I think last year's offense. I think greatest show on turf. I think the 2007 Patriots. I think the Falcons that Shanahan coaches an offense. When they invest this, when I think prolific, I think, whoa, down the field passing, deep shots, 1-play drives, 2-play drives, 70 yards, big explosive plays. When I look at this offense, I don't see prolific. I see another P word. It's predictable. That's what I see with this offense because of the personnel that has been in and out of the lineup. So yes, they're moving the football.
Hollow?
Yeah, absolutely. They're moving the football for sure. But when you don't convert the red zone, because it's so easy in today's NFL, I'm not going to say it's so easy, but it's advantageous for the offense to move the football and get a couple first downs. Think about it. You get the ball at the 30-yard line, you get a couple first downs, you're already crossing midfield. So in today's game, you get to the 35-yard line, you're in field goal range for the most part. Now, whether or not these kickers are hitting it is one thing, but I look at the red zone area as the biggest issue. Biggest issue.
Well, and it feels like they're not scoring outside the red zone on the deep balls. Like the Pearsall play a couple weeks ago was one of the first big explosion 40-plus yard plays.
That's prolific,
yes,
right?
Yes.
You haven't seen enough of that.
No.
You haven't seen enough of that at all. So, but the Niners need to win desperately, Shasky, desperately. Or, you know what? They don't win on Sunday. We're probably talking about what needs to change in the offseason.
Oh, gosh. I mean, it's just there's a lot of things going on right now with this game. And I'm thinking about the LaFleur-Shanahan matchup. And one of Shanahan's best wins ever as a coach was probably the game in Green Bay with Jimmy Garoppolo in the playoffs against Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's like one of those signature victories for a head coach. And so, this is a guy that he's very familiar with. And last year, it taught me, wow, LaFleur's got some saltiness to him towards Shanahan. So I think this is like a budding rivalry. I like this matchup a lot for both sides.
Well, it's been a matchup there for, quite some time. Now you get the quarterbacks in. And Green Bay, of course, it's not going to forget what happened in the divisional round game at Levi Stadium. They felt like they let one get away. Anders Carlson misses a kick in the fourth quarter. They're up 21-17. Niners go down, scores 24-21. I love inexplicably throws the ball across the field to Dre Greenlaw, and he gets picked off there. But Green Bay controlled that football game for the first 3 quarters, man, and Brock did not look right. 888-957-9570 is the number. We'll get to the calls here in just a second. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you've kind of alluded to the weather being a factor maybe in Green Bay and just how weather has affected Brock at times. I thought the field was really slippery on Sunday, and it was like a little mist. It wasn't, I'm not saying it was rain, but it was like a little mist, and I don't know, man. Their whole timing was off as an offense. It just felt like to me, and I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just literally saying that they looked off, whether it was footing, not having the right feel for the ball, whatever it was. They got to be right on offense. And I think that this is a team, and as much as I want to point the finger at the defense, like they're going to be offensive driven. They have an offensive driven head coach. They have a lot of firepower still on the offensive side of the ball. And I believe they have an upper echelon quarterback, and they need to come out and play well like that.
Baldy on the lack of explosion on offense.
They had one explosive play on offense. They can't get the ball down the field. And, it's always been a hallmark of any coach team by Kyle is they're going to get explosive plays. And you can literally, there's a million stats out there, but you got to track explosive plays in this game. They changed the game, and they changed field position, and they give you the jolt of electricity you need. They couldn't get the ball down the field. I mean, they had one play last week by Jennings of 22 yards, and that was thrown before 20. He just got some yards after the catch. But they can't get any explosive plays in the run game or the pass game, and they still look slow. And then when it really showed up was with Zeno's touchdown run at the end. Like, where is everybody?
Where is everybody? I wonder who leads. I'm guessing Detroit probably has the most explosive plays.
I don't know.
I would
maybe
guess Detroit.
Cincinnati because they've been in all these shootouts.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Most plays over 20 yards. I'll look that up in just a second.
I was looking at some of the sloppiness around the league, and because like the common theme for the Niners is like they commit a lot of penalties. It's like Baltimore's leading the league in penalties by a long shot, and they're one of the most penalized teams. The Niners are kind of like the bottom of the pack. They're actually not that bad, when you compare it to the rest of the league. But again, we go back to the word situationally. It does feel like they shoot themselves in the foot situationally. The drive after the interception to start halftime the other day, it was like penalty after penalty after penalty. That drive was just completely wiped out by horrific penalties.
No, it was bad. It was bad last week. Let's go to Mike and Hayward.
Hey,
Mike, what's happening?
How you guys doing? I've been listening to everybody talk about Shanahan, and I got into a thing with your buddy yesterday about knocking it from Shanahan. You know something? Shanahan is not a head coach, man. He's the offensive coordinator. That's a head coach. So he needs to go get an offensive coordinator that can change stuff up, and then he needs to coach the team. That's where it's going. Okay, because he's a great offensive coordinator, but he's not a great coach, man. He's not a motivator. He don't have enough swag like these other guys. The guy in Detroit, he don't have that, so he needs help. He needs help, but he's go get offensive coordinator. Let's see if he can just be the head coach. Okay, let's just see that. Okay, bye.
Let's go to Kevin and Cupertino. Kevin, what's happening?
Okay, bye.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. 6 foot, 180. No need to overanalyze here. It's the lack of the running game in the Shanahan offense. It's simple. There's no balance in the running game. There's no offensive line push. And so the O-line needs to be addressed. I'm, a Bears fan stuck in 49er territory. So what's changed in the offensive line from this year to last year? I don't know.
Dominic Purdy.
I know it's not sexy to blame the offensive line, right? We want to blame coaches and receivers and quarterbacks. But if the offense is in balance, play action passes work, Brock gets more time, receivers get open. Very simple. Brock does not have to be the leading rusher because the offensive line can't hold a pass block. So it's all predicated on poor offensive line play. Thanks for taking my call.
I don't think that's the only thing. There were a couple of times, just again, I'm going with my naked eye. I'm not pretending to be Josh Allen over here or Bill Belichick breaking down film, but there were a couple of times that I thought Brock bailed on what I would consider to be a good enough pocket to throw the ball. Because of his size, I think he really struggles when they get interior pressure right up the middle. I'm not saying he can't be good. I'm just saying this year it feels like his eyes have gone down and he's had a tough time when that center gets pushed into him to be able to throw over the middle, and you've seen him bail out of pockets that may be bigger, because the guys have different skill sets. Kyler will go flying backwards because he can't, step up and climb in the pocket. Whereas a Tom Brady or Josh Allen, and Tom Brady has actually talked about this on the broadcast, no, climb in the pocket and make that throw to the crosser or make that throw to the guy breaking backwards on a curl route or something like that. Brock has kind of bailed from some pockets because of his stature this year, and people struggle hearing that criticism. I think it is in part because of his size.
Well, you can't have it both ways, right? Because on one end, the first 5 weeks, it's like, hey, Brock, scramble more, yay, scramble more. And all of a sudden, it's like, wait, scramble less, keep your eyes down the field. There's no happy medium here. You just got to go out there and play football, and I trust Brock's judgment on when to scramble and when not to scramble. So we can't have it both ways. Scrambling is what kept the Niners in the game last week. Scrambling, I think, is what helped you win that football game. He had the extended plays. Yeah. Think about Tampa Bay. His scrambling, pardon me, bought time to throw a touchdown pass to George Kittle in the back of the end zone. His legs were able to do that. So we need him scrambling in this offense. You don't have that hit in yardage right now with Christian McCaffrey. You don't have the hit in yardage with Deebo Samuel right now. So where can you get it from? Well, Brock Purdy's providing that with his legs. So I think you need more scrambling with Brock Purdy.
I'm talking on the plays where there's pressure up the middle on the edges. He did a great job,
no doubt,
evading a couple of free rushers the other week. There's just I'm just going off of there's a couple of plays where there are plays to be had underneath where you can get some yardage because they've got numbers, and it just feels like when the pocket gets collapsed from the front center. He's struggling to just dump it down.
He's got to bail because these D tackles are huge and they're monsters. And if Brindle's getting pushed right back into the pocket, then you got to break the pocket. Yeah. You have no choice here. Let's go to Rob in Dublin. He wants to see the Niners throw the ball down the field. And I'm with you, Rob. Where's the 9 routes? Where's the go routes, man? Let that thing fly.
Hey, good morning, fellas. You must have saw my text, bro. Hey, man, let this guy go, man. We defenses are not scheming for Cowie. They're not scheming. They're scheming for Deebo, our names. Put these guys out there, get some go routes going. We might get a PI. You never know. We never throw the ball down the field. It's just, it's nerve-wracking, man. It's nerve-wracking. It's hard to watch because everything is underneath, run, underneath. Come on, man. Put that ball up in the air. Let it fly. You never know. Put a bum on a bum, cowing on whoever they worst do this. We might just get one. Come on, we gotta keep it on.
Rob, if you had to fix one thing or tell Shanahan, hey, I need you to evolve here, what would that? Would it be the downfield passing attack? Would it be throw it outside the numbers? Would it be more creativity with the formations? How would you tell Shanahan to evolve? What would you like to see?
Shanahan, you need to humble yourself, mix it up, hire an OC, and like the last caller said, coach the team. Just mix it up, man. We're so vanilla right now. We're not doing anything special. Nothing. And that goes to special teams, too. All the way down the line, we don't look solid.
Can I ask a question? Wouldn't you say that the strength of Kyle Shanahan is X's and O's and play calling?
It is, but it's not. The production ain't showing on the field. He can't go out there and play it. The players got to do it. So we need something. Something's got to change.
Something's got to give.
Bonta, I view coaching as you have various skills. Some people are stronger in some areas than others. I don't know if everyone sees it that way, but that's how I see it. For example, do I think that Steve Kerr, I'll go basketball first, is the greatest tactical coach of all time? No, but I think he's good enough tactically. I also think that he is a brilliant communicator, and when it comes to understanding certain people on his team, do I think that he empowers some of the young guys? At times, yes, and at times, no, and we can quibble at it. In the NFL, there are CEO head coaches, what I would call like leadership generals. John Harbaugh comes to mind. Mike Tomlin comes to mind. Very successful. Then there are tactical, cerebral assassins. Belichick, right? I think Andy Reid would be one of those guys. Andy's not more of your, he can be a great leader, but I don't see him as the rah-rah guy that John Harbaugh is, or even Jim Harbaugh is. They're just different skill sets. My interpretation of Kyle's skill set is that he is excellent when it comes to the X's and O's and the play calling and this, that, and the other. And some of the other stuff that people want, that's not necessarily his wheelhouse. And I think we actually underrate how good he is at that because clearly the players love him. I mean, they've always.
Yeah, I don't think we really know. When I hear this stuff about whether or not this guy's a leader, they're not. Like for Belichick, for example, people are like, well, he's tactical, he's a chess player, doesn't really get caught up with the players. Then I see the players go to his office. And he talks to the players, and he talks with the players all the time. Andy Reid, the same thing. Now, Shanahan refuses to get mic'd up, and they hate the hard knock stuff, and they want to be private or whatnot. I don't know what type of leader Kyle Shanahan is, but he's yet to lose the locker room. He's yet to lose the locker room, so he must be some type of great leader. We don't know his relationships with each player. There's text messages going on back and forth. Hell, the players are at his house partying with Rick Ross. I mean, so I don't really know what type of leader he is. I know he's led the Niners to a 54-29 record over the last 5 years entering the season. He's led them to 4 NFC championship games, and 2 Super Bowl appearances.
And right now, like Dan Campbell's like the hot man on campus. Everybody loves him, right? Which, hey, look, the guy's been awesome. He's been awesome. But I also think like it's fair to be like, all right, well, what do you look like when Ben Johnson leaves? And you have to replenish some of your coordinators. And I think the beauty of someone like Harbaugh, I'm talking about John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin is they've kind of proven over decades, like they're pretty good at hiring these coordinators and kind of keeping it rolling.
And I want to say this about that.
What?
Dan Campbell helped mold Ben Johnson.
No doubt.
Do you even know who Ben Johnson was before Dan Campbell?
No.
Dan Campbell gets credit for that. You know, and I think Dan Campbell will continue to have that program rolling because of their nucleus in Detroit. They're all young. Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You know, I was thinking about this with Detroit. I was talking to Carlos Ramirez yesterday because he was talking about, you know, the 49ers postgame show, you know, Detroit's cocky. And I was like,
yeah, well they're
all cocky.
Yeah.
The Niners were cocky. Deebo Samuel's still telling people they've been the best team the last 4 years.
He thinks Detroit's too cocky?
Yeah, he was talking about their cockiness. They haven't done anything yet. And I was like, well, we haven't really done anything yet either. We've won a couple division titles and got to the Super Bowl, but we didn't win the ultimate prize. The Lions now, with the way they're running up the score, and I had no problem with that. The way they're kind of jogging into the end zone and dancing and stuff like that. They have an early 90s Dallas Cowboys feel to them.
Ooh, I like that.
They have the head coach who's...
The O-line.
Yeah, the O-line is nasty.
I think it's the best O-line in football.
It's nasty. The head coach is cocky. He's confident.
It's a good call.
Aaron Glenn, up-and-coming defensive player. You don't really know much about their defense right now. A lot of no-namers, but they're making plays. And their offense has... They can be physical. They can be finesse. They can win in all elements. They haven't... Don't let them win a Super Bowl this year, man. Do not let them win a Super Bowl because it could be a run. You know, it could be a nice little run for them.
Well, I think as you look at them, one thing that I admire about the way that they employ their offense, and I guess this will be, again, this is just my little nitpick, but I love that they have the 2 backs and they have very specific skill sets and they're a little diverse from each other. And there are games where I want more Jahmyr Gibbs watching Detroit, and there are because of fantasy. And there are games where I want more David Montgomery because I think he's more of the pounder in between the tackles. And
you know what though? He catches passes too.
Oh no, he's a great player.
He's in the pass game too.
He's way better in Detroit than I thought.
Right.
I thought of him when he was in Chicago.
Yeah, no, they use. I have had him in fantasy. He is a monster.
He's an excellent player, but I like the way they use both guys. And I look at the Niners, and there are times where I'm like, you got bodies back there. I'm not saying you got to go 50-50 down the middle or even 33-33 with Garendo, but like, we can't find 6 to 8 touches for Jordan Mason. We can't.
Let's go to Bud in Oakland. Bud, what's happening?
To take if y'all will allow me.
What happened? Where'd you cut him?
I don't know.
How'd I cut him? Did you hear that connection?
Well, it was about to come through. Give him a little buffer. 3 seconds, man.
No,
damn, in and out. Jeez.
No, Bonta, we needed to hear more paper being crunched.
No, I think he was trying to get his stuff right. Bud, call back when you get your line. Troy and Clayton. Troy, what's happening?
Hi, Troy.
Hey, guys, good morning. Poor Bud. He got smoked there, didn't he? Got rolled.
You got
Itchy trigger finger over here, man. Go ahead, Bud.
I know, right? Get a guy a shot, man.
Christ, that's what I'm saying. Guy's been at home for 20 minutes. Troy, what's happening?
So listened to the radio all day yesterday and heard a number of things. Deebo's lost a step. Receivers can't separate. The defensive line in that 4-man push can't get to the opposing quarterback. Purdy doesn't look as effective as he did. Shanahan's predictable. He needs to go. Now, all of those things could be true, and a lot of those could be. Everybody has their one point. Shanahan's an offensive coordinator. He's not a coach. Now, all of those things might be true and probably are, but you can't fix them all in a week, right? You can't. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Yeah. And I think if you look at what's the DNA of the 49ers, right? The DNA of the 49ers has been their offensive line and running the football, and they haven't been effective at that. And it's really interesting how you see a lot of McCaffrey and you see little of Mason. I think he had 2 rushes on Sunday, and I think they were back-to-back there. But he looks effective. And if you look at it, it seems like when you talk about Mason in the backfield, what gives you the most effective possibility of doing well in the backfield, and that's Mason, period. It just is. But 2 things can be true at the same time. It seems like if you say, I want to see Mason in the backfield, you're saying that McCaffrey doesn't have it and he's not going to have it. That's not true. It's only been 2 weeks. I mean, Green Bay's going to be 3. I mean, let's give the guy some health care. Now, it doesn't mean that McCaffrey's not going to be there. It means that he may not right now.
and he looked gassed. There was a couple of times when they showed the huddle, and he was on one knee in the huddle. He looks gassed. So let's give him a shot and give him some help. It doesn't mean he's not going to get it done. What it does mean that Mason gives you the most effective possibility of an effective running game against Green Bay on Sunday.
Yeah,
and everybody's talking about, Detroit. Let's worry about the 6 inches in front of our face right now. And right now, that's Green Bay. And I think what gets lost a little bit, too, is that I think there's a symbiotic relationship between offenses and defenses, and one survives because of the other. And last year, the Niners were scoring, 31, 32 points a game. So when the defense came on the field, if they had a long, sustained drive by the opposition, and they were able to give up maybe 3 points or a touchdown, they were 2 possessions away from losing the lead. And late in the fourth quarter, they're just not doing that right now. And so I think the game on Sunday, what really lost it was when they turned the ball over on downs. So the defense had held up. Seattle turned the ball over on downs, and they couldn't drive. It was late in the fourth quarter. It was like 2:40 left. And they couldn't drive, and so they had to punt. And they're in that tweener spot of, it's a long kick. If I miss it, I give the ball up on the 40. If I go for it, I think it was 4th and 6. If I go for it on 4th and 6, I give the ball up on the 40. So what they had was hope. I hope that I'm going to punt, and I hope the defense can get it done. And hope's not a strategy. It's just not. And hope's not going to get it done. It's just like with McCaffrey, hoping that the red zone problems are going to go away. Our rushing problems are going to go away. This is going to go away, and that's going to go away because McCaffrey's coming back. That's a hope, and hope isn't a strategy, and that's not going to get it done. And you can't pin all your hopes on McCaffrey because he's coming back from a major injury and he hasn't played in the entire season. That's not going to get it done. And I think if you look at the difference between last year and this year, is that was the game to me. That was the game is when they gave it up. They couldn't put together a sustained drive.
No,
and now
you're right.
Defense is
You're right, Troy. He's going to ramble. Nobody's worried about Detroit. We just brought Detroit up. We're worried about Green Bay. Not even worried about Buffalo. Worried about Lambeau Field.
Detroit feels like the favorite to represent the NFC.
And we're worried about Brock Purdy and his shoulder because he's day-to-day. And then where's Nick Bosa? And then where's George Kittle? And then how does Deebo feel? And then you got Trent Williams. He had to take Teradol to get the ankle right and play on Sunday. So did the Teradol wear off in the second half? I have no idea. But he needed Teradol. He needed his shot to get the ankle right. So they're beat up. They're beat up.
One of the things that he was referencing, and you were talking about solutions and what would you look for from Kyle Shanahan to evolve. One thing I just want to see, just something that I personally would like to see. You get in the red zone. You've struggled to run the ball in the red zone, right? Every team's trying to do it right now. Why not split McCaffrey out as a slot guy who has to be accounted for and have Mason in the backfield? And it opens up whether it's the Mason running lane and kind of get guys off the line of scrimmage. And so you can't pile 8-9 guys in the line of scrimmage. And now you have optionality. Juwan Jennings on one side, CMC in the slot, or CMC on the far side, and get the matchups you're looking for. I know that he doesn't necessarily have the same explosion that he had last year. He's still a great route runner, and I would just try something like that. I want to see Mason with CMC split out.
Oh, no, I don't know if CMC ran great routes last week. He is a great route runner per se, but with this injury here, I haven't seen great crisp routes from Christian McCaffrey consistently. But how about getting Garindo in that backfield? Because we talk about explosiveness and we talk about speed. He had the 76-yard touchdown. Looked just like Raheem Mostert. He looked just like Mostert running down that sideline. I say, damn, this guy from Louisville can fly. Well, you need more guys that can fly. And if Garindo gets some space and he's in a one-on-one situation, I like my chances with this kid. I would look for him in space as well. I need to get to speed on the field. This is a fast league. I need speed.
Well, and he's a guy that started off as a wide receiver in college, which just blew me away. You tell me you can't use him. I always think of Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles will always have a role in this league.
I just get him his space. Let's see Garindo get about 5 touches. But now I get there's only a certain amount of plays in the game, but I want to get some explosiveness on the field.
We were talking head coaches and all the various head coaches.
This dumb stuff. Okay, here we go.
What's wrong?
I already know where this is going.
I saw a post the other day that said
a Quentin post.
Yeah, exactly. That basically said, just hypothetically, how many Niner fans right now would trade Shanahan straight up for Harbaugh?
Oh my God!
We're just having fun. We're not saying we're doing it.
Spadoni threw the question in the thread yesterday. He threw the question in the thread. Why can't you give Spadoni credit?
Well, I saw it online as well.
No, Spadoni threw the question literally in the thread yesterday.
Explain.
And here's the other. This is the thing.
I think Spadoni found it online.
No.
It was a caller or texter that texted it in, and Steiny read it aloud on air, and then moved past it pretty quick.
What was the way it was
phrased? I thought it was interesting. It was just, hey, the way the Chargers are playing this year right now and the way the 49ers are, is it crazy to say that you'd rather have Jim Harbaugh right now over Kyle Shanahan? So that was it, but that's prisoner of the moment.
So let's just go through the series here. Vince here, since we're going to have some fun. Let's have some fun, because I thought we were having fun with Quinn Post. Have some fun with this. Spadoni sends the text. Wonder if Niner fans want Harbaugh over Shanahan. And I'm just like, great.
If you could trade Shanahan for Harbaugh right now, would you do it?
And I said
right now.
And I said something along the lines that I won't read online. And then I'm waiting on the show call, waiting on the show call. And I love it because me and Shasky already talked. I was like, whoa, thanks for leaving me out the equation. He goes, we already talked. And I think something that we both are high on is this Shanahan and Harbaugh stuff. And I'm going to be playful, but I'm going to be serious at the same time. What did anybody trade Shanahan for Harbaugh, say, 10 months ago? Jim Harbaugh's not come up around here for a long, long time. And all of a sudden we see Jim Harbaugh high-fiving everybody in the Chargers locker room, and now we want to trade Shanahan for Harbaugh. That's where we're coming from.
No, I don't. So, I don't even think I want to trade. I want to keep Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan.
Hypotheticals.
I think Kyle Shanahan is the right guy for the right job for this time in this moment. But I do know a lot of Niner fans always loved Harbaugh and were sad the way it ended. And these things aren't stagnant. Like, to me, it's not a static thing. It's not like yes or no. Like, opinions evolve over time. If I would have asked people 5 years ago about Andy Reid and their opinion about him today, I think it would be dramatically different today. I mean, today he's considered one of the better coaches of the last 40 years, if not top 2 or 3 coaches.
What do you think, Niner fan? Like, here's what I told Lubman, and this is where I was trying to get to in the thread. What do you think Niner fans are going to say right now if you asked them, who'd you rather have, Shanahan or Harbaugh?
I think the majority would still say Shanahan.
I don't know about that.
I do. I think the majority would still say, like. I
don't know about that.
Let's think about this. Harbaugh would still have to hire an OC. We were talking about different head coaches and whatnot. Like, Harbaugh would still have to find a good OC, no matter where it is. So he would have to hire a very good DC, clearly. And he's done a good job finding those guys, whether it's at Stanford, whether it's at San Francisco when he was with the Niners, or whether it's in Michigan. He's done a good job finding coordinators. But he is very reliant on his coordinators, right? I look at the quarterback position, and as bad as everybody tries to say Kyle Shanahan is, and quarterbacks get worse over time, the same thing happened with Harbaugh. I didn't think Kaepernick was as good as time went on with Harbaugh as he should have been. I thought that the quarterback play did deteriorate. I thought the roster deteriorated. I thought working the up and down part of in the building, the infrastructure, the front office, empowering people to do their job, Jim Harbaugh wore everyone out. He wore everyone out. I don't think that's the case with Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan is pretty still liked by John Lynch. I think they have a really good working relationship. The same could not be said for Harbaugh and Balky after a couple of years. And maybe you could point the finger at Balky, but I think Jim at that point in time had a lot of maturing to go through. We'll see how long it lasts in the honeymoon phase in LA with the Chargers. He's done great work. And Herbert feels like his entire career is going to be saved because of Jim Harbaugh. He's a really good coach. I'm taking Shanahan every day.
All right.
Who are you taking?
I'm taking the coach I have right now. I mean, yeah, I'm running with Shanahan. It's been more impressive.
We can agree Harbaugh was really good too, though.
Nobody's saying he wasn't. My thing is the recency bias kicks in, and this is the funny part. This is the fun part of sports, and this is kind of the frustrating part of sports. You go through a little turbulence. You go 5-5, and we discredit everything you've done over the last 5 years, and it's recency bias. And recency bias kicks in with this generation more so than any generation I could ever remember. In terms of like, oh, let's just get rid of this guy for this guy. Let's get rid of this guy for this guy. Now we're talking about swapping coaches.
That's a fun exercise.
Harbaugh's doing his thing with the Chargers. Shanahan's doing his thing here. What Shanahan has done with the 49ers has been more impressive than what Harbaugh did with the 49ers. We have a damn good head coach. You've had some great memories and moments over the last 5 years. You've got the 2 Super Bowls. They both haven't won it, so it is what it is. I remember what happened when Harbaugh got let go. It was 50-50, in my opinion. There was a lot of people who was like, yeah, Harbaugh, get him out of here. He's too toxic. And there was a lot of people like me saying, damn, we we lost Harbaugh.
I was devastated.
I miss him.
I was devastated.
So, he moved on. It's a decade later. He moved on to 2014. It's 2024. Get what I'm saying? We're good with the coach we have right now. Would people trade? I know people would trade Shanahan for Harbaugh because of the personality, because of the high fives, because of the who's got it better than us, because of the quirkiness. And quote-unquote Shanahan doesn't motivate people. He does it rah-rah. He's on his iPad, Microsoft Surface, whatever it is, and he's doing his own thing. And Jim Harbaugh's got all the quirks and all the cliches in the world, and people eat that stuff up. They eat it up. But Harbaugh also wears out people. Go ask the people at Stafford.
Of course.
Go ask the 49ers.
I memean, Michigan's facing sanctions. And the sanctions are kind of stupid, but they're facing sanctions right now. I mean, there's no doubt. But I also believe that, your point about recency bias, I mean, that's kind of life, right? We're constantly assessing things, and property values are going up and down. Interest rates are going up and down.
Sports is different.
No, it isn't. Tom Brady was considered the GOAT. Right when he retired, he's the greatest of all time. Now it's back-to-back Super Bowls, 3 and 4 years or whatever, 3 and 5 years for Mahomes. We might have a different GOAT.
Yeah, still a little premature. Brady's had, 7 rings?
Oh, come on.
He's got 7.
In 9 tries. It's incredible.
Let Mahomes get the 5. All right? Has Mahomes even surpassed Montana yet?
I don't know.
Mahomes is 3-1 in the Super Bowl, whereas Montana was 4-0. So
yeah.
And how many interceptions did Montana throw in Super Bowls?
Yeah, I don't think people get that deep into it, but I know you will.
Zero. He threw 0.
Yeah, of course.
How many has Mahomes thrown? Yeah, I could make the argument. At least 1. I could make the argument that Mahomes' defense carried him to those Super Bowl wins.
Okay, and Montana's
the one game against Philadelphia, the Philadelphia
Montana's
game,
first Super Bowl with a goal line stand.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean,
come on. Montana and company blew out Dan Marino in the Dolphins. Yeah. They blew out John Elway and the Broncos dropped 55 on them.
Yeah.
Mahomes and company went toe-to-toe with Philadelphia. But those other 2 Super Bowls against the 49ers, their defense won that game.
Yeah, teams win Super Bowls.
Teams do win Super Bowls, but Montana's been more impressive in the Super Bowls, has he not?
Bonta,
I'm saying
he's 29 years old with 3 Super Bowls.
We're playing hypotheticals.
I mean,
we're playing hypotheticals.
No, what I'm saying is that we're constantly reassessing where people are in the pecking order. For example, Steph Curry before the 2022 championship, where there are not an entire country of people who didn't think.
Well, there was a country of dummies. That's what I think. There was a country of dummies. Going into that. How can you go into that?
We reassess after more information is processed.
In the Bay Area, we didn't think about that. Well, maybe some people in the Bay did.
Some might have.
But the country, this whole dumb narrative that he has to win a Finals MVP. I never even knew Finals MVP was a big deal. I didn't. Nobody, a guy with a brain who watches basketball every day knew that Steph Curry was clutch, and he had the 3 rings, and the 4th ring was icing on the cake. What if he ggets a 5th ring? Is that icing on the cake too? I guess.
I mean, I think that what he did with the USA team, these are just things that notches on the belt. These are just enhancers. These all just enhance your legacy.
Steph Curry, I'm happy that the nation knows that he's a badass and he's a baller. But if you didn't know that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, then shame on you.
Well, I knew Kobe was great. Then I question
your basketball acumen.
Well, I knew Kobe was great, but that 08 team enhanced my opinion of him. And it's not because I didn't think he was really, really, really good. It was wow, I get to root for this guy for the first time ever. And damn, he's freaking awesome. And then he won me over. I think a lot of sports fans do that. You have sports biases. This happens to whoever. Not everyone's sitting there objectively, journalistically watching games. We're sitting there rooting against and for people for crazy reasons. I don't like that team for X, Y, and Z reasons. I don't like that player because he broke my heart.
I would speak for yourself in that because in the basketball circles, I would not just get caught up with things like First Take where they're narrative driven about, can this guy get it done by himself? I saw a show yesterday. Oh, no, it was the Lakers broadcast, their pregame show. And we're 13 games into the season, and it had MVP power rankings. MVP power rankings. We're 13 games into the season. I mean, come on. But what I want to know is, what's the question to Harbaugh? What is it? Would you swap Shanahan for Harbaugh?
We're just having fun. We're just having fun. We're just asking Niner fans, because there's a lot of people ticked off at Shanahan, which you and I are in unison. Come on, he's really, really good. They're having kind of a down year. They're 5-5.
Well, let's ask ticked off Niner fans Who would they rather have? Harbaugh or Shanahan? I'm sure the answers are going to go Shanahan's way.
Well, I would like to hear the argument.
Like Shanahan's Q rating's at an all-time low. At an all-time low. Shanahan's Q rating is at an all-time low with this 49ers fan base right now. Is it not?
I don't know. I'm not sure where people stand because I don't think the internet is indicative of real life. Like when I'm out at the games, like we were out there on Sunday, like people were frustrated, but nobody was like, fire Shanahan. Like it wasn't a cavalcade of negativity. It was just like, what is going on in the red zone? Why are we committing penalties?
Monday. Spadoni, Monday. How would you assess the callers on Monday when it came to Kyle Shanahan?
It was 90% fire him.
Fire him.
Yes. Like that, that's not hyperbole.
Wow.
It was so bad on the internet. Shasky tried to send photos of his son, baby LJ, saying, all right, guys, let's cleanse the timeline and get over to Seattle Walls. Here's some photos of my child.
I was pissed too.
Nobody cared. Because they wanted to fire Shanahan. His Q rating is at an all-time low. So if you bring up Jim Harbaugh right now, of course fans are going to say Jim Harbaugh. Of course they are.
They're very different people too. Like, I feel like Harbaugh gives you all the little sound bites and all the little podium talk that everybody finds endearing. And then like Shanahan's kind of miserable at the podium. And again, these are different ways of going about it. I don't think one's right or one's wrong. It's just how they conduct themselves and their personalities.
Harbaugh has some saltiness to the media. He wouldn't answer questions all the time.
Yeah, he went at Lowell Cone. And
he was short.
Yeah.
I mean, he was.
But he also gives you
ass at times.
He gives you the, Michael Crabtree, greatest hands in the history of the game. And, he gives you all these like funny things.
And that's why people would rather have, like 707 right now saying he'd rather have Nick Sirianni than Kyle Shanahan.
Well,
I mean, like
I disagree with that.
But that's what I'm saying. Shanahan's Q rating's at an all-time low. I heard how people talked about Bill Belichick over the last 3 years. Said he was washed, old, da-da-da-da-da. Well, everybody. And now people would rather have Bill Belichick than Kyle Shanahan.
Well, he's also the greatest, one of the greatest coaches ever.
But over the last 3 years, people said he was washed and done and over the hill.
I think a lot of people were like, the personnel guy in Bill had so much control over the roster, he's done himself in. But that's a very nuanced conversation.
Coach in Los Altos, what's happening?
Hey, Coach.
Two of my favorite people. Great show as always. Hey, Mike, you know I'm a diehard Niner fan, sort of Niner for life. And I've come to the conclusion, and Shasky, you sort of hinted at this, and I really think this is right, which is, it's just like in a company, there's CEOs that manage all facets of the game. They bring in, they bring in manufacturing, product sales, all the G&A functions, all that stuff, and they manage it across all those components. And I just don't see Shanahan managing any component but offense. And, it's why Bill Belichick was so incredibly successful, besides Tom Brady, is he managed the offense, the defense, and special teams, and he talked about it. And I've seen it in companies where, you could have the best product in the world, but if you can't have people that understand how to sell it or support it or manufacture it, you're not going to be successful as a company. And it just really dawned on me that I don't see him managing the triangle of all three phases of the game. I see him so obsessed with the intricacies of his offense and being that offensive genius that I think he misses that to be a successful organization, company, whatever, to get over the top against somebody like Patrick Mahomes and these guys. And I personally, I don't even think we're going to make the playoffs. He's got to manage all the facets of the game. And he just has a long way to go. So somebody needs to sit him down and say, look, to be a great coach, to be a great, as Shasky said, the CEO persona, to be able to, you have to move into that next echelon.
Coach, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If Bosa stops them on 4th and 2 and they win the Super Bowl, are we even having this conversation?
Yeah, winning does trump everything, right?
This is sports. It's crazy.
It's so hard. But I do think his next evolution, if I was coaching the coach, I'd sit him down and say, look, dude, Everybody knows you're an offensive genius. Now, why don't you prove that you're a defensive genius too? Why don't you prove that you can integrate special teams?
Eric Crocker did tell us last year that he is kind of the de facto defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And the 49ers, for the last 5 years, have won 13, 10, 13, 12 games. So I don't think, Coach, he's that far away from getting over the top. Hell, they lost in overtime. They lost
special
in
teams.
the fourth quarter. Special teams for sure.
Special teams.
He's definitely got a blind spot on special teams.
They got a blind spot on special teams, no doubt.
Yes.
No doubt. But, Luter, guys on the punt team, who back there, poison, get away. Like, I get it. I hear you, Coach. It was a good call. Good to see you the other night with your lovely wife.
Yeah.
They stopped by the gay house yesterday. Coach is cool.
I'll never forget seeing him on the Vegas Strip.
Oh, we talked about it.
Sadly, after the loss, it was like the worst. He came over and gave us the biggest. Was it his two boys?
Yeah, it was two boys. We talked about it the other day.
God, it was so sad.
He also talked about, I was like, man, you're about to kick that kid's ass. But, like I look at the poll, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, man. I just think it's beneath us. Would you trade Kyle Shanahan for Jim Harbaugh right now? Like, we're running a poll about trading Kyle Shanahan for Jim Harbaugh.
Put a disclaimer that we're having fun with it.
This is dumb. I don't want my name attached to that one because I ain't with that. Man, that is silly to me. It's just silly. This is where we're at.
50-50 right now, by the way, on the poll.
Yeah, I mean,
how many votes? 2?
No, 36.
The Q rating. Like I'm seeing things. Would you rather have Dan Campbell? When last year I bring up the lines and people laughed at me saying, you really think Dan Campbell can out-coach Kyle Shanahan? It's like, come on, guys. We have a damn good coach here. We're having a rough year.
No doubt.
Guys are hurt. Guys are beat up.
Possibly.
There's going to be some tweaks in the offseason, no matter what happens the rest of the season. Hell, the season's not even over. You beat the Green Bay Packers. Arizona has a good chance of losing up in Seattle.
Oh, please.
Seattle's had their number. They've had Kyler's number. Go up there and beat Arizona, and the Rams lose in Philadelphia. Guess what? You're tied for first place again. Then are we kissing Shanahan's ass again? Are we saying he's the greatest thing since
Possibly.
apple pie? What are we doing? Are we trading him for Jim Harbaugh? Are we trading him for Mike Tomlin? Are we trading him for Dan Campbell? What are we doing here? I'm trying to have fun, but come on, man. Like, we know how the Harbaugh era ended. And we know what Shanahan has built here in San Francisco. An expansion team. Built this roster from the bottom up. 54-29.
But
how did Harbaugh comes into a situation? You already had Patrick Willis. You already had Navarro Bowman. You already had Ahmad Brooks. You already had Justin Smith. You already had Deshaun Golston. You already had Frank Gore. You already had Anthony Davis. You already had Mikey Potty. You already had Joe Staley. You already had Alex Blum. You already had Michael Crabtree. You already had Joe Staley. You already had Alex Smith.
Yeah, but
you had talent.
No, I know, but
he didn't. The reset wasn't. Shanahan literally started from the bottom with this organization.
No doubt.
Literally had not one blue chip player, where Harbaugh comes into this organization with 10 blue chip players.
Yeah, but they weren't blue chip when he came on. Only Patrick Willis was quote unquote all pro.
Those guys were good though.
No, I'm not
Staley were
denying
first
that.
round picks. Mike Iupati was a damn good line. Frank Gore was a damn good running back.
I'm not denying that, but all of them had not even come close to the success that they saw when Harbaugh got here. But there are a lot of people that feel this way, and this is my buddy Damien. Some folks are destined to always fall short. He feels that Shanahan is one of them. He'll never win one as a head coach. He's a Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley level. Gonna always fall just a little short. I'm not saying that he's wrong, but I think a lot of people feel that way, and that's their opinion. And I think that's kind of the fun of this like little exercise we're doing right now. And you know what? Before Harbaugh won it in Michigan, couldn't you say a similar thing about him? About falling short?
Over and over and over again.
And in horrific ways.
That's what I'm saying. But in his situation, he came into a situation where the Niners, all they needed was a tweak and a kickstart. They had premium talent on that team. Vernon Davis was not one of the better tight ends in the league.
I know, we were pretty down and out, though.
But
the quarterback,
we were down and out because
had
we weren't
1
winning.
foot out of the league.
Yeah, but I'm saying around the quarterback, Crabtree, Vernon Davis, Frank Gore, the offensive line that I just mentioned, they had players.
No, I know
they didn't have players.
They drafted in the top 10 year after year.
But the reason why we were so down on them was because they did have the talent, and they were underwhelming and not exceeding expectations. Shanahan literally came here to an expansion team.
No doubt. They inherited
I covered games by myself at Levi Stadium where they're throwing the ball to Jeremy Curley.
No one is arguing that they didn't inherit different situations. We totally agree with that.
Right.
And I'm just saying, like, Shanahan has continued to replenish. Harbaugh kind of stalled out. And also, the working of the relationships Clearly, Shanahan is better behind the scenes than Harbaugh.
No doubt.
I don't. Maybe Harbaugh's evolved, but like the evidence is in the pudding here. The proof is there.
But the Q rating is so down on Shanahan that we know people are going to say, "Yeah, trade Shanahan for Harbaugh," and I don't want my name attached to that. I'm not there. Harbaugh's doing this thing with the Chargers. I'm happy for him. I loved Harbaugh, but I'm pretty damn happy with Shanahan and what he's done with the 49ers. We have it really good right now. And when I hear from other fan bases and other I'm like, yo, what y'all going to do with Harbaugh? We need a coach. Raider fans calling in. We'll take Harbaugh right now. Right now. I bet you Arizona last year with Gannon, they would have taken Harbaugh right now. Dallas Cowboy fans, you think they take Kyle Shanahan? You think Cowboy fans would take Kyle Shanahan right now?
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean...
Yeah, he's really good. We know that.
He's been close to the mountaintop now. It's tough. It's tough to win. Marty Schottenheimer never won. Marv Levy never won. Joe Robbie, Don Shula didn't win for a long time. He's been for the last, 30 years of his career, for crying out loud. So, I don't know, man. I just feel like this fan base is so down on Kyle Shanahan, and we're blaming him for so many different reasons. Where players got to make freaking plays. When are we going to hold players accountable around here?
I think this is what happens when you don't cash in a championship. I've thought a lot about this, and you could tell me what your opinion is, but let's say the Warriors didn't win that first title. Let's say they lose for whatever reason, whether it's in the finals or in the Western Conference Finals. Does it hang over your head that you didn't win it? And then the next year you have that remarkable season and you don't win it there. And now it's a thing. You know what I mean? And you go years and years. And it's like the pressure just continues to mount. I think about the Atlanta Braves of the 90s. The pressure just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger for the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? The pressure got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I think this is what happens when you've been knocking on the door, and you just keep stubbing your toe, trying to walk through, and you don't cash in. I think that at some point you fall flat on your face, and you have, quote unquote, a down year by your standards, which, the Bears would trade seasons, the last 10 seasons for this year, Yep. But that's the plight of success. I think that this is the byproduct of being so freaking good. Niner fans don't even know what a down year looks like because we've been so spoiled. And again, they're 500. They're 500 right now.
We've had some down years.
No, I'm talking about recently, the last couple. We've been jaded. We've been kind of spoiled.
They've had some down years, but yeah, we are spoiled. I said this, I've been saying this kind of all season. I've been a little disappointed in Niner fans this year. And kind of and you know what? Maybe it's because of the Super Bowl loss. Maybe it's because of the omens in training camp of losing Pearsall and McCaffrey and the IU called out and the Trent Williams holdout and Correndo injures his hamstring on the first day of camp. So,
do you believe in emotional burnout?
No, sometimes I do. I do, but I don't think this team suffers from it.
Oh no, I'm talking about more the fan base, the psyche of the fan base.
Yeah, but they're all back. They're all back for the Jets game. We all say, "Oh man, we're tired. We need a break. We need a break." No, we're always back.
I don't know about break, but more just you've been through
fans. Yeah, for fans, sure.
You've been through some trauma, I guess.
Fans
we're talking fan trauma.
Yeah. You would know more than me.
Well, I just think that it's really difficult when you lose a championship to get over it, and it's really, 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 really tough when it feels like everything went your way the last couple of years. You didn't cash in. And then you're sitting here and you're like, oh my God, was last year the best chance we had to win a Super Bowl and we lost in freaking overtime?
Well, everything lined up right.
Right? It's hard to come to grips with that. And then I think what ends up happening is you overcompensate and you crush the quarterback and you crush the head coach and you crush ownership and you start making, oh my God, the parking lot. You know what I mean? We come up with all these reasons on why they can't win.
Let's go to, you're right about that. Fan is short for fanatic, right? But emotionally, I was spent after the Rams game. I'll bounce back up, and now my ass was in Philadelphia the next year. Then Philadelphia happened. And I was like, damn. I'm not going to get back up for this one. Damn. And then I did. So we all get back up. We get emotional. We get burnt out a little bit, but I never get down in the dumps I got to turn the TV off. There's people, if you lose an NFC championship, for example, they're like, I'm not watching the Super Bowl. What the hell with that? I am watching the Super Bowl.
What?
Or if they don't make the playoffs, well, I'm watching the playoffs. I'm watching it closely. Or if they lose in the playoffs, well, I'm going to continue to watch at a high level. That's just me, though. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
You know, like I was thinking about like the Giants, the 00s, right? When they lost the World Series in 2002. 2003, they run it back. They go wire to wire, and they lose to the freaking Marlins. And they should have lost that series. Like, the Marlins were the better team. It was so hard. It was so hard that following season, 04. It was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, they have no shot. No shot whatsoever. You were emotionally drained and spent. And I feel like there's a part of the fan base, not all, but there is a part of the fan base that's just emotionally drained currently, and they haven't gotten over the Super Bowl. And I get it. I'm having a hard time. I don't think I'll ever get over it. Ever.
So when you say get over it, does that mean that you can't really lock in on the season?
No, more like
game.
Like every loss, it's like, you lost that Super Bowl, so let me take it all out on the coach. And like right now, I'm just gonna unload on him, and I think it's unfair.
Yeah, he'll get over it.
You know what I mean? Like I think it's hard to describe. Sports fans do this stuff, man.
Yeah. I hear you.
Like, talk to a Yankee fan about Aaron Judge.
Fans do it.
Talk to a Yankee fan about Aaron Judge. Right?
We're talking about trading Shanahan for Harbaugh. That's came up.
We're just having a conversation.
No, but obviously it came from the internet. And obviously it came from somebody calling. And Spadoni actually brought it up in the show thread. I'm like, that's where we're at right now? Talk about trading the head coach now? When losses happen, what I've done as I get and trust me, I tweet a lot, but it's not like I'm like diving in to see who's having what take or whatnot, because I'm not going to drive myself crazy. I get emotional about the games, but I have a different way of dealing with it. Well, and I already know that during the season, unless you're mathematically eliminated, you still got a shot.
Yeah, but there's a roller coaster.
5-5, and there's a roller, and I like the roller coaster. I do like the roller coaster because for me, it separates who can handle adversity, who can't. Whether it's the players, whether it's the coaches, whether it's the fan base. And I know which fans are which. So I know which fans I don't talk to during the season because I know, they're wishy-washy. As soon as they lose, they're going to call me. Or as soon as they win, I don't hear from them. E40 had a great line. Now, I'm going to paraphrase what E40 said. He goes, boy, all or something else. When we win, I don't hear from none of y'all. No congratulations, sex, no nothing. Hey, this guy did a good job. Even from the whole fan base. I don't hear from you. You don't say anything. Oh, this play was good. This play was good. You're always critical. But boy, when they lose, this game's not even over. The text messages are rolling.
But that's life. I mean, your hater shows up to your funeral. You know what I mean? In the front row, sitting next to your mom.
But fans, they're not even haters. They're just fans. Some fans do this where they just jump the shark.
Well, no,
every single week.
I just think this is part of football. Number one, and the Niners, like when you have a 30-year drought, of winning Super Bowls, and you've been knocking, it makes everyone crazy. We're at the level of insomnia. Are we not? Like Bonta, one of your buddies is a diehard Niner fan. I would consider him one of the quintessential Bay Area sports fan, Harry Bearson.
Oh yeah,
and all year it's like he kind of has been like
he's on it. He's been down.
He's been down on this team, right? And I would consider him to be a very pragmatic, very thought out, very optimistic sports fan.
One of the smartest sports fans I know.
Exactly. And yet he has, like, all year he has been very, I don't know, something's not right. My eyes are telling me. And I'm saying to myself, like, I think a lot of people feel that way. They love the . But all year it's just been like,
Well, look, full disclosure here. When the situation happened between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole a couple of years ago, in my head I was like, damn, this season, because I've been around a lot of sports teams, covered a lot of sports teams, I just thought, damn, this season might be cooked. Like, they may have a shelf life. And I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but I don't know if they're going to go back to back. And I felt like they were going to go back to back. I really did. That also, I was like, boy, Poole's coming back, and Wiseman. I was feeling really good. And then you watch that first road trip, you're like, oh no, they didn't win a game on a road trip. Oh no, this might be a long year.
They were so bad that first month.
But my job here at 95.7 The Game and NBC Sports Bay Area, I was like, well, I can't just go on the radio and say, boy, we got no shot this year. I've got to go through the journey. I've got to somehow, like, not sell hope, but you got to be positive in a way, right? You got to just have that mindset of just, man, how are we going to get through the season here? So I try to stay away from it, but I'm not going to lie to you. When I was in New York and watching everything from afar in training camp, I'm thinking, boy, there's not a lot of good omens here. And usually when this happens with a football team, because I've seen it before, it doesn't play out well. And when the McCaffrey news broke during Monday Night Football, while I'm on the field and they're like, wait, he's not playing, and it could be an Achilles, and I'm like, oh no, that's not a good omen, right? Not a good omen.
Well, I thought the whole offseason was a lot of bad omens, but continue.
But to your point about Harry Barrison, he could read things very well, but he's also not going to flip the spread and go crazy. He understands it. He's very smart. We talk all the time after a game, all the time. We'll talk, and he's very calm, very cool, collected. He never screams, never yells. Yeah. He's just very calm and collected when it comes to his 49ers. Now, you get the other side of it, and I got a buddy named Uber Latif. He can't wait to text as soon as the game is over. Oh, get rid of this guy. I didn't even open up the thread last time. I didn't open up the thread on Sunday from some of these fans. I didn't. I refused. It's like I already know what they're going to say.
But I think this is the beauty of sports is that people are going to have varying opinions on stuff. And like, you know, one of my closest buddies, Guido, young Guido. Our dads went to Niner games growing up together. I've been to a countless Niner games with Guido. Guy watches every second of everything. He has been out on Shanahan for a long time. And even though he's rooting for him to win the Super Bowl last year, he's just always with a side eye, like, I just don't like this guy. I don't think he's great. I think that the team is really, really good. And I think he's holding them back. I'm like, what are you talking about? And like, again, these are the conversations sports fans have where I'm looking at him like, are you crazy? You know, and he's like, no, are you crazy?
Well, love it when he brought it up on the show call, man. It's Fedoni Shasky. I kind of like this question. I say, what? What question? The Harbaugh question?
Some people are Harbaugh guys.
But no, I'm a Harbaugh guy.
Yeah.
I've always loved Jim Harbaugh. Yeah. I watch every single Chargers video because of Jim Harbaugh. But at the same time, that time is coming. It's come and gone. Yeah. He's even made amends with Jan York and come back for anniversaries to Levi Stadium. So that's done. And now that it's done, over the last 3 years, they've had some wild games against each other. Overtime game here at Chase Center. Remember, Looney had to tip in. Clay dropped 54 on them.
That's right.
Down in Atlanta, Trae Young and Steph Curry went crazy against each other. Yeah. They won in overtime in the ATL. Last 5-6 matchups over the last 3-4 years, they play some wild games against each other, the Hawks and the Warriors.
Yeah, but his point about going 3-1 over these next 4 is I mean, it's pretty spot on. You look at the Pelicans and where they are in the standings right now. Obviously, the Spurs are still like a up in the air team. I don't, they're ascending, but I don't really know what to make of them.
They blew out OKC yesterday without Wemby.
OKC, I believe, lost 2 in a row, or is it 3?
Struggling a little bit.
I know the Lakers are like one of the hottest teams in the sport right now. But you look at it and you say to yourself, like, just continue to stack wins if you're the Golden State Warriors. And I guess I'll pepper the same question that I threw to Slates to you. What do you think it is about Steph Curry? While everyone else seems to not be drawing in the NBA, and again, I'm not obsessed about ratings. It's football season. I think the number one problem is the calendar, right, for the NBA. But why is he still appointment viewing all these years later?
Well, just think about what he did in the Olympics and think about who he is. Slater hit it right on the head. He's a worldwide superstar. And to the NBA fan or just to the casual fan, he's not a guy who's high-flying, 6'8", 250, dunking all over the place and playing with power. He's playing with skill and below the rim. And he made the three-point shot as relevant as it ever has been in the NBA. Now, some teams shouldn't be shooting threes like Stephen Curry, but he's literally changed the game. And his persona, being a humble superstar, he's never wavered off of that. He's approachable. He's fan-friendly. He's a family man. Everybody loves Aisha. He's got the 4 kids now. So that's what resonates. He looks like just a normal dude. And so when you get a guy like that, and he's not braggadocious, it's easy to see why he rates at a high level. And he's a crossover star. Like, everybody knows who Steph Curry is. Everybody. And the fact that he is a tick above LeBron, and I think that has maybe some of the things, even though Steph Curry has been a little outspoken about politics, LeBron has taken it to the next level.
I think it's just LeBron fatigue, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, it's
not necessarily political. I think it's just LeBron fatigue.
And people think that LeBron has a lot of narcissistic ways to him, but Steph, it's easy to see why he rates. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do. And like, I'll just go for me. Like, I'm not league passed out, in terms of I've got to tune into a Mavs-Grizzlies game, you know what I mean? Like on a random night. But like last night, games were on TNT, and I'm flipping through the different channels, as you do, and I'm like, oh, well, not only is this Cavs-Celtics game in the second quarter, look at the floor. Like, it just looked different. You know what I mean? It reminded me of like when you watch like Boise State and it just looks different. And I'm like, oh, that's right. It's the in-season tournament. Like, okay, well, not only is this game like I'm intrigued because Boston and Cleveland, and at the time Cleveland is unbeaten, but also like, wow, the floor looks different. This game means something different than a normal regular season game. And so the NBA Cup ratings being up 70%, I think the matchups factor into that. You know, Cleveland versus Boston. Boston's a blue blood. Cleveland undefeated. I think that plays a little into it.
Clay
I just think
against the Warriors. Clay coming back.
Well, that was another one I was going to reference. Is like you throw the Warriors in there, and then you throw Klay Thompson in there, and his first time back. Yeah, I think that's a strategic placement of these NBA Cup games on a big, high-profile moment where there's no other sports happening on a Tuesday night. That was smart.
No,
that was really,
smart.
really smart by the NBA.
And they've bumped up the Pelicans and Warriors game to ESPN, and that's going to start at 4:30 tomorrow, or Friday, I should say.
Okay.
So they've got that on the ESPN slot because, you know, really Steph and Curry just go to State Warriors, and they're off to a hot start.
Is that an in-season game, too?
It's an Emirates NBA Cup game.
Yeah, NBA Cup
Emirates
game.
NBA Cup game.
Interesting.
Emirates NBA Cup.
The courts are growing on me. I like the Boston one. It looked kind of different. What was the second game? Was
San Antonio, OKC.
Yeah, didn't love the OKC floor.
And then you had the Lakers and the Utah Jazz that I was watching.
The Lakers one was cool because there's all gold and the purple trim.
That was good.
I did like
that one looked more normal. Like
it is.
Yeah.
Like to me, I don't think it needs to be over the top color wise, but like there's a subtle way that it looks good. Like the Warrior one looked good. I like the Warrior one.
The Lakers, man, this
hey, they're on a roll right now.
This Dalton Connect kid could shoot it. They've won 6 in a row ever since they shifted D'Angelo Russell to the bench. D'Lo's now coming off the bench. Dalton Connect has been starting, and he's been thriving off of LeBron James.
So we have touched on something that was kind of a big deal yesterday, and I would like to hear Steve Kerr, who was on with Willard and Dibbs yesterday, was alluding to it, and they just directly asked him like about DeAnthony Melton and the injury, and his response got me worried. What? I'm not allowed to be worried?
No, you are.
About a vital player?
You say it like, boy, I'm worried. When you use the worry word like you do.
And I was worried. It's the way he responded. Let's listen to it.
He's been seeking, their opinions, and we've really been evaluating everything, just trying to get him the best advice he can get, and we're obviously very concerned. Anytime you're talking about an ACL, it's I had one in college and tore it completely and had surgery, and it's a serious injury. So we're really taking our time and making sure DeAnthony gets all of the advice he needs.
Yeah, and it comes at a tough time for Melton, who scored 33 points in his previous 2 games. He was 7 of 14 from the 3-point line and 11 for 23 overall, but I thought he was playing solid defense. He had 14 rebounds, the double-double in OKC, and he really completed the starting 5. A guy who could pick up 94 feet if you want to, but he could defend the opposing point guard like Kyrie Irving or an SGA and try to stay in front of him. And then he can hit the 3. He's a lifetime 37% three-point shooter, but it's also a reason why DeAnthony Melton was lingering on the open market. It's because of the injuries, whether it's the back, and the knee could be connected to the back. Who knows? It's going to be a tough blow if he's out for an extended period of time. And so it's imperative for Brandon Podziemski or Moses Moody or Lindy Waters III to step up to the plate. And they're going to have an opportunity here if Melton is out for an extended period of time. Now, do you want defense for offense? Do you want offense for defense? What do you want here? That's up to Steve Kerr. But there's no doubt they're banking on DeAnthony Melton to maybe play more games than last season. This could be a devastating blow to a Warriors lineup that felt like it was coming around. The starting 5 was getting off to better starts. You had your bench set up with Kuminga and Buddy Hield coming off, and GP2 as well with Lou Dog. This now shifts everything up, and now it takes a hit with your depth. This is a good two-way player, DeAnthony Melton. So, yeah, you should be concerned about the left ACL sprain.
Whenever I hear second opinion from professional sports athletes, I'm always like, oh, boy. Not that it means the season's over. Christian McCaffrey sought second, third, fourth, fifth opinions. They're doing their due diligence, but tells me it's a little more complicated than a standardized injury, and you do that because you're concerned. And that really worries me. And this is a guy that they're going to need this guy. If they want to make a deep run in April, they need some version of him that is close to the little bit that we've been teased with early on. And I think this gives an opportunity, though, because there always is silver linings in these situations. This does give an opportunity for Pods to maybe find himself. This maybe gives an opportunity to Moses Moody to kind of finding himself, or Lindy Waters. And so I really hope that these guys take advantage of the opportunity given to them, and one of them steps up.
Pods, man, just 19% from the three-point line so far, 38% from the floor. And his free throws, last year he saw 63% from the free throw line.
That's not good for a guard.
60% this year. So he's got to get better. He's got to get better as you're listening to 95.7 The Game. KGMZ FM and AC1 San Francisco and Odyssey Sports Station, always live on a free Odyssey app. Don't forget, this is a Warriors Wednesday brought to you by Freeman's Appliance. Come see their full selection of in-stock luxury appliances and live working vignettes. Visit Freeman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill today. Our boy Jordan Watkins texting. Dyson Daniels, a.k.a. the Great Barrier Thief. Now, why do they call him the Great Barrier Thief?
I don't know. I would call him the Vacuum or the Dust Buster if he's a Dyson. Right?
Well, that's true. He's from Australia.
Well, Dyson also does like hair blowers or hair dryers or whatever they're called. Because I bought my wife an expensive
blow dryers.
Dyson is out at blow dryer. Thank you.
Yeah. Flat irons.
Yeah.
Flat irons.
There's like this whole kit that she has that was quite pricey, high end. It was like circular. It looked like a gun from the future, like a radar gun.
Dyson does some good vacuums. Great Barrier Thief does make sense because the Great Barrier Reef is around Australia, so that works out.
That's the play on words. I like that.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's good. That. New Orleans traded him, man. He's part of that DeJounte Murray deal. Dude, 33 steals the last 7 games. Like, that's crazy. That is, 31 steals in the last 7 games. I believe that Jalen Williams is second in the league. He has 33 steals on the season. This guy has 31 in the last 7 games. So he's by far and away the leader when it comes to steals in the NBA. All right, Ted Wynn's going to join us from The Athletic coming up at 9:20 to talk about Shanahan, the 49ers. Are we freaking out about the offense? What's going on with the offense in the red zone? Are they too predictable? Also want to ask him about Fred Warner because I don't know if it's true or not. Somebody sent it to me. Who's Greg Cohn's boy? What's his name? Not Ryan Hensley. It's the Jay, who's the guy? Jay something?
Jesse Naylor?
Jesse Naylor, is that his name? Well, somebody sent this to me in the text. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not going to credit. He probably did the research. But he said teams are completing their past 30 attempts. They're 30 for 30 with targeting Fred Warner since he suffered the ankle injury. So he's given up 30 completions in the last 30 attempts towards him, something like that.
I didn't see that stat.
Somebody sent it to me.
Wow,
I was like,
pretty interesting.
It's interesting. I don't know if there's any validity to it.
Well, has he looked the same to you since the ankle injury?
He hasn't looked the same.
I mean, the guy started off like he was having a DPOY candidacy. I mean, it was early in the season, but he looked amazing. And then all of a sudden, the ankle injury, and it does feel like he's a little compromised. There was a play in space the other day. He jumped in the air, and Geno just kind of rifled one just to his side. It's like, gosh, I think, I don't know, man. Maybe he doesn't leave his feet if he's got a little more mobility, a little more juice. It just doesn't feel like he has the chase down like he had before.
Yeah, no, something's going on with him. So we'll ask Ted Wynn whether or not he sees something on tape.
But I have a hard time ripping him because he's such a gladiator, B.
We're not ripping him, but just being critical.
No, I know. Critiquing, I guess, is the way.
We love Fred Warner, but you know what? Not playing well. We got to talk about it. It is what it is. Kind of our job. Eli Redding, what's happening? Eli. What's up, Eli?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, how you guys doing? Good morning. Hey, you caught me off guard for a minute. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I wanted to rapid-fire some of the cons on Kyle Shanahan. You guys tell me what you think.
Okay.
So, notice he doesn't adjust. The horrific trade with Trey Lance, and we not even really addressing much Mahomes and Brady. Got rid of Buckner. Doesn't play the young Bucks unless there's some injuries. We see what's happening right now with Mason and Garendo. Kind of Cabo clicky a little bit. We see he's kind of prideful, doesn't really have accountability. Blows leads, regular and off season.
What else you got? Keep it going. Just keep it going. You're on the roll.
I'm sorry, sound like a downer, man, but I've been down.
No, just keep going. I want to hear the entire. I want to hear the entire list. What else you got? I want to hear the entire list.
Also, it's just like it sounds like he just by the look of it, man, it just looks like his playbook takes priority over the players, over their strength. Overplays McCaffrey. Look at him. Look what's happening to him. Limits Purdy. I think he needs to move the platform. Since Purdy's a little shorter, he should be getting out of the pocket a little bit more because of his height. So that's all I wrote. I wrote a few things down on an envelope. What do you guys think?
Oh wait, you got the envelope. Are you on Twitter or anything or Instagram?
I'm on Instagram. I've sent you guys things periodically.
Yeah. Can you take a picture of that envelope? I want to see the things. I want to see the envelope with your handwriting and everything. I want to see a photo of that.
It's a little bit messy, but I'll definitely I'll take a pic and send it to you.
Yeah, no, I would, and I want you to make sure you title it Kyle Shanahan's Cons.
So I did slide in the DM to say hi.
Yeah, but what do you guys? I mean, I've been hearing I listen to a lot of guys like Grant Cohn, somebody I listen to periodically, and then I've been hearing him talking about not getting rid of Kyle, but why not trade him and get something back?
Well, that would be getting rid of Kyle.
Wait, so now we want to trade Kyle.
Is the only coach to be traded Gruden?
I think so.
For a first-round pick?
For two first rounds and 2 second rounds.
Yeah.
2 first, 2 seconds. What did that net you?
Absolutely nothing.
Philip Buchanan? Was it Philip?
Boy, I'll get the exact names. Hold on.
Was it Philip Buchanan?
No, Buchanan was there with. No,
okay, I don't know.
No, he wasn't there with.
I don't know.
It netted him 20+ years of misery. That's what it netted them.
All right, I got it right here.
Give it to me.
All right, they got tight end Daniel Graham, offensive tackle Langston Walker.
He actually wasn't bad.
Cal Berkeley.
Defensive end Tyler Brayton and running back Tony Hollings in the 2004 supplemental draft by Houston.
Ouch.
So Eli wants to.
I wanted the Niners to take Terrell Pryor in the supplemental draft.
So Eli wants to trade Shanahan for picks.
Would the Bears trade their first-round pick right now straight up for Kyle Shanahan?
Probably.
Yeah, no doubt. No, there's not a question in my mind that they would.
I mean,
how about New Orleans?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
The New York Jets.
I don't think the New York Giants would. I like Dayball probably more than most. The Jets would. The Jets absolutely would.
The Giants might.
I like Dayball, though. I don't think he's the problem. I think it's the quarterback. I like Dayball. Okay, but your point is we'll take it. How about the New England Patriots?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of teams I would want.
I did this exercise this morning, just like talking to myself on air.
Yeah.
No, it's great because I got to 15 teams. Damn near half the league would take Kyle Shanahan. But Sam just said that's actually less than he thought it would be.
Well, you got to think about the coaches that are there.
You're
the
not
Dallas
taking
Cowboys
McVay's job.
Sirianni's safe in Philadelphia right now.
Although there was a point in time this year they would
teams like Sean Payton, like he's staying now. With how Bo Nix looks.
Kansas City, Reed.
Yeah, 3.
Harbaugh.
4.
Chargers, both Harbaughs, 5.
5, yeah.
Tomlin.
6.
Who's the other guy? I don't know about Zach Taylor. I think Zach Taylor should keep his job.
That was an iffy one. Yeah.
Mike Brown is frugal with his coaches. He keeps coaches for a long, long time.
Yeah,
we'll
but
see
we're
about
going
that.
hypotheticals here.
Harbaugh. Yeah, I don't know about that. But Harbaugh.
No, I meant hypotheticals.
Yeah, Harbaugh, Tomlin, McDermott.
I mean, of course, Antonio Pierce.
Mike McDaniel.
I had to, Shasky.
Mike
McDaniel. They would trade Shanahan. Yes, they would take Shanahan right now.
I don't know. I think they're keeping Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's doing a great job.
He hasn't won any December games.
Yeah, but he's been good.
Kevin O'Connell. They're keeping Kevin O'Connell, I think.
You think so? Okay.
Yes, in Minnesota.
Okay.
Campbell.
Yeah.
LaFleur. Dan Quinn.
And then
Washington.
the entire NFC South can kick rocks. No offense.
Yeah, Todd Bowles might be gone. He might be gone.
What about our boy Raheem Mostert?
He just got there. I think he'll.
I think he'd be there too. Yeah,
he'll stick around. Because Arthur Blank may think that Shanahan blew him the Super Bowl.
My boy Shane Steichen. What are we doing there?
We'll discuss on the other side.
I don't know.
You got to hear some Deebo sound. I want to play some Deebo sound for you on the other side,
What is
Bonta.
Deebo talking about?
Well, you got to hear it.
Are we trading Shanahan again?